Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas and Santa was good to you. I hope you haven't overdone it on the turkey and mince pies. I haven't, as you can see. Well, maybe just a little bit. That's another story. Slightly different aspect today from my usual intros. We've got the lathe behind me, and that's following on from our big cleanup that we did following our little condensation issue, which thankfully we've had no more of. Everything cleaned up nicely, no permanent damage. It was just elbow grease and maintenance fluid and towels and a little bit of Scotch-Brite. So yeah, we've come out of that fairly unscathed, really. Just a bit of work. So big thanks to apprentice Edward, who recovered the milling machine pretty much by himself, and some other bits of tooling as well. He may be making other appearances in the future. My other two apprentices may also come in here and do bits and pieces, so we'll see. We'll see what they want to do and when they want to do it. I'm wearing my AG Engineering t-shirt again today, my lucky t-shirt, and that indicates a bike video. We are going to get on with the D7 Bantam. Cycle parts today. We're going to take the back wheel out, we're going to take the swinging arm out and have a look at those parts, strip everything down and just sort of make an examination and see what needs to be done. Any rectification on new parts will be on a follow-up video. We'll get the stuff ordered, get everything cleaned up and put it together on another video. So that's what we're going to get up to today. The channel continues to grow. Thank you all very much. You are fantastic. We're now over 380. So this is a huge thanks to all of you who've subscribed and who watch on a regular basis. Thanks very much indeed. I can't thank you enough, actually. It's amazing. So anyway, let's get on with some Bantam work. Right, so we're back on with the D7 BSA, and it's time to have a look at the cycle parts. So we're going to start at the rear end, take the back wheel out and the swinging arm and have a look at those. Just work through everything, make sure it's all good. Probably going to have to put brake linings in, I would think. Definitely needs a new rear tyre. So I've never had any of this to bits before on this bike, so it'll be a voyage of discovery for me as well. But you'll notice that there's fresh air between the back wheel and the ground, and obviously that's the big lump of wood underneath the centre stand. So I'm working around the sort of facilities that I've got. I don't have a bike lift and I've got very little room to put one if I did have one, so we shall make do. But that gives us enough room to get the back wheel out easily and the swinging arm. And it's, with a lightweight bike like this, it's no effort to lift the thing up onto the wooden block. So that's what I've done. So I'll get you in a position where you can see, and I hopefully won't get in the way of the camera, and we'll get the back wheel out and go from there. Right, hopefully you're looking at the offside or the right hand side of the rear end of the bike, and we're going to go through what we need to do to get this rear wheel removed. And then what we'll do is we'll have a look at the jobs on this side, we'll have a look at the other side, and then we'll take the thing out. So I'm going to do my very best not to get in the way of the camera on this video. I'm aware that on my last video with the exhaust, you got a great view of my head balding away and my shoulders and my back, and yeah, that's enough to put anybody off. So thanks for coming back. Let's have a look at what we need to do. I am just going to clamber around to the other side, and we'll get something to point with. If you hear any strange noises, we've got quite a bit of wind and rain at the moment here in the southern UK. So the workshop door on the roof is taking a bit of a hammering, but hopefully it won't disturb us too much. Right, so on this side, to get the wheel out, we have chain adjuster, the spindle nut, and we've also got the speedo gearbox, which will come out with the wheel, and we need to disconnect here at the speedo cable, which is quite awkward to get to because the spanner flats are sort of sandwiched between the lower mount of the suspension unit, shock absorber, whichever flavour you prefer to call it, and the spokes of the wheel. So there's not an awful lot of room in there, so that could be a little bit challenging. But that's this side. Let's go around to the other side and have a look at what else there is. Okay, we're on the left hand or near side of the bike now. We've got a little bit more to take off. We have the torque plate anchor bolt here, which stops the brake drum from rotating with the wheel. So we'll take that off. We've got the brake rod itself, this fabulous bit of sculpture here. I think it's fantastic. It's like a wing nut, an elongated wing nut. Looks like a back end of a rocket. We've got to take that off so that the brake rod can be released. And then again, we've got our chain adjuster and our spindle nut. And it's a bit like a bicycle, really. You undo the spindle nuts in opposite directions and then just slide the wheel out with the excuse me, with the axle still fitted. It's not like on a modern bike where you would just pull the spindle right out and the wheel would drop out. It doesn't work like that. And then when we get the wheel on the bench, you will see how the wheel spindle and the bearings come out. There's a little bit more to it than you have on a modern bike. So without further ado, I shall grab some tools and we'll crack on. Right, so we'll start on this side, and I will move this aforesaid mentioned brake adjuster which was wound on quite a long way, so that will probably give us an indication of the condition of the brake shoes. So what I must do is stop grinding my knuckles against the sprocket, because that's a lot of fun. Anyway, we're nearly there. Okie doke. Excuse me. Oh dear. Oh dear. I've got a jack in here. Not to lift the bike up. It's purely to basically stop it from tilting while I'm working away. Not that it's a particular danger, but it's just a bit annoying, isn't it, when things are moving around when you're trying to work. But the bike doesn't weigh anything, so it's not as though I'm worried about it from a safety point of view. No, it's not going to work. There we go. Oh, I'm faffing, aren't I? There we go. That's better. Good. Just to stop the bike from tilting while I'm levering away at things. So we'll take this bit off now, the torque arm bolt. Oh, lo and behold, it is hand tight. So I'm guessing that previous owner had the wheel out at some point before he sold it to me and didn't put it all back together properly. Right, keep all the fasteners together. Slacken off the chain adjuster. We've got no chain fitted at the moment, but we'll back this right off. Okay. Before we move you again, I'll just do the chain adjuster on this side because you're not really missing much. Just back it right off. We don't really need to, but it just gives us a bit of clearance. Okay, right, I'm going to move you again. Bear with me. Okay, so back on the other side again, and hopefully zoomed in enough that you can see. I think so. Is it focused? Yes, just about, I think. So, this speedometer unit, gearbox, I managed to find a little bit of slack on the cable and I've been able to rotate it around a little bit. Whether or not I'm supposed to be able to do that, I don't know. We'll find out when we get it apart. And I've gone through just about every spanner in my rather, I feel, comprehensive selection of inch size spanners, and I can't find one that fits, so I found one that fits. I'm sure you sympathise with what I'm saying. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting the job done. So that is coming off of there now. That is our speedo cable. There we go. Withdraw our speedo cable. Doesn't look in bad condition. Looks alright actually. May have been a replacement. Who knows? So that's that. We've just got our two spindle nuts to slacken, and they are 9/16 Whitworth. So I've got two. Or are they 9/16 Whitworth? Perhaps not. They are not 9/16 Whitworth. I've deceived myself. Let's find out what they are. 1 second. Let me just switch you off while I fiddle around with spanners. 1 second. Right, they are 1/2 inch Whitworth. So, I don't know where I got 9/16 from, but anyway, I have the right spanners. So we'll go ahead and slacken these off, see if we can whip the wheel out. And again, they weren't particularly tight, so that does rather suggest that this wheel has been out prior to it coming to me, which obviously, you know, in almost 60 years I'm sure it has, but I think immediately prior to coming to me. And hastily put back together again. So, hopefully, there should be nothing preventing us from doing that, and there isn't. So there we go. One wheel removed. Happy days. And as I say, I do intend to remove the swinging arm as well, to check the bearings and just make sure everything's good. And we'll check the units over. These have never been removed. I suspect they're going to need new bushes. I think we can get those bushes. If not, we'll make some. But yeah, next stop is getting the wheel on the bench and then stripping it down further, having a look at the brakes, having a look at the speedo drive unit and the bearings. And of course, it'll have a tyre before it goes back on, because this one is particularly worn out. There's no sensor tread bar left at all. So someone has had their money's worth out of that, and it's a Dunlop gold seal. So there you go. That's been on there quite some time, I would think. Okay, we will reconvene at the bench. Right, here we are over at the bench with our recently removed wheel. And first thing I'm noticing on the brake plate, let me just get you in a better position, is this. A hole with what appears to be the indentation of a rivet head, which will move you a bit closer. I don't think you can see very well there, can you? How's that? How's that? There we go, that's better. You can see the indentation. We've got a rivet here, we've got nothing here, so I don't know. Broken rivet perhaps? We will know when we get it apart, but yeah, potentially something awry there that we might need to do something about. So the first thing to do to get all this thing apart is, oh, excuse me, I'm just wobbling everything. We've got a large nut here that holds the brake plate on. Let me just spin the wheel around. Spin that wheel. We've got another large nut here that holds the speedometer gearbox on. So I'll get some tools together and we'll get these wound off against each other, and then we can get the brake plate and the speedo drive off, and we can investigate a little bit further. I'll get something to damp down the brake dust as well, because we don't know the last time this thing's been apart, and we don't know the provenance of the brake linings. So could be anything, couldn't it? Could be nasty, horrible, obnoxious stuff. So we will damp it all down and make sure that we don't end up with airborne dust particles floating around all over the place, which will be not good for us. So give me a minute, I'll get some bits and pieces together and we will proceed. Right, so I've got some bits and pieces together. Background noise, if you can hear it, is the fan heater that's kicked in. So I don't think it comes through on the video, but if you can hear it, that's what it is. Spanners, again, my well, what I believe to be comprehensive collection of spanners didn't appear to have anything suitable, so we're using the Swiss Army spanners, or knuckle breakers as my granddad used to call them. And then I've got some just some blue workshop wipe and some soapy water in a squirty bottle. You can buy brake cleaner, obviously, squirty aerosol brake cleaner, which is good stuff, but in a small workshop like this it's quite a heady concoction. So soapy water works just as well to damp down the brake dust. So there we go. Let's crack on and see if we can get this apart. Now, I'm not envisaging these things to be super tight because nothing else on this back wheel has been, but you just never know, do you? What kind of a view have you got there? A really poor one, came the reply. There we go, that's a bit better, isn't it? So we'll just, oh, that one's moving already. Yeah, okay. I think we're supposed to be a bit tighter than that, but there you go. Oh no, that one's moving, but this one isn't. Okay. Oh, that's not good. Right. What I'm going to do is tighten up these two nuts against each other and use that to lock the axle. You can see, good. So if we tighten these two, these are the nuts that hold the wheel into the bike. If we just lock these off, should hopefully be able to get this nut on the speedo drive side undone. Now you can't really see what I'm doing, but there we go. I guess you're kind of following along with what I'm up to. So that thread feels a little bit manky. I think it could just be debris and dirt, because it doesn't look, oops, it doesn't look in bad condition, and there's quite a lot of gunk coming off with the nut, so yeah, I think it's just dirt. So let's get this one wound off. Nearly there. Well, we're kind of between Christmas and New Year now, so I hope you've all had fantastic Christmas. I must stop dropping that. Yeah, I hope you've had a great Christmas, and you're looking forward to whatever New Year's Eve celebrations, if any, got planned. We shan't be doing an awful lot. We generally have quite a quiet New Year. Right, that one's off. Speedo drive is off. Okay. Put that in the tray. There's our speedo drive. The grease in there looks reasonably fresh actually, so the light's not very good for you to see that, but maybe someone's had that apart. We'll find out, won't we? Okay, take these set of wheel nuts back off again. Put them in the tray. Let's move the wheel, ready for removing the brake drum. Okay, let's just get you in a favourable position. There we go. Hopefully this one winds off by hand. There we go. Interesting. Never noticed that. They're shouldered. They've got a little a recess machined in them. Interesting. Okay. Is there a spacer or is that part of the drum? That's part of the drum. So let us extract the brakes. The brake drum. The brake back plate rather. Oh dear. So there's no brake dust. We will give it a good clean up, but I was expecting it to be quite dry, but it's in fact wringing wet with grease. There's not an awful lot of meat left on those linings, and the grease from the wheel bearing is all over the brake linings. They're bonded brake linings. I think that these are original shoes with brake linings bonded on, because you can see the rivet holes. You can see the rivet holes here, here, where they would originally have been riveted on, and there's glue poking out of that one. So these have been fitted with bonded linings at some point. But we will be junking these and getting some brand new ones. You can get them relined. You can send the shoes away. There's a company in the UK called Villiers Services. Villiers as in the old Villiers engines. I think they bought the rights to furnish the spares for Villiers engines, but they also do brake reline, and they will actually rivet new linings on. But yeah, I think we'll probably just get new linings, get complete new shoes. So, okay, so far we've removed the speedometer drive and we have removed the brake back plate. As you can see, it's minging in there. It's quite a lot of grease. And it looks like it's baked on, so it looks like it's been doing that for quite a while. There's a lot of grease oozing out of the bearing. So there we go. The bearings don't feel terrible. So the next thing to come out is this ring here, and we may need a peg spanner for that, depending on how tight it is. We might have to manufacture a peg spanner, but we might just get away with putting 2 pins in and turning it, but we'll see how tight it is. But that is the next piece to come out, so that we can take the bearings out. Right, you'll be amused to know that the pattern of events on this wheel disassembly continues and everything is loose. I just put this ordinary parallel punch into the hole, and I can move it with the hands. So there you go. I had a screwdriver at the ready to lever against, but doesn't look as though I'm going to need it. So let's take this out. I probably will knock up a proper peg spanner for putting it back in again. The kind of thing that you would use to, you know, very similar to the sort of thing you would use to tighten up the wheel on a grinder, on a angle grinder. So there we go. Those holes don't look very round, so they've probably been tightened up with a hammer and punch or something like that in the past, but anyway, the threads look alright, it came out okay. So that's that bit. Now we need to remove the axle, and it goes out brake side towards the speedo, if I remember rightly, and it should take the bearing with it on this side. They're a bit like, hang on, let me just move you. They're a bit like the cup and cone bearings on a bicycle, where they've got the tapered shoulder, but then they've got a ball race butted up against that shoulder. So if we knock the axle out this way, it'll bring the bearing out, and then we'll just have the bearing sat in the hub on the other side to remove. So we'll give that a go. Let me just get a suitable tapping stick. Probably should have had all this to hand, shouldn't I? But it's not as though it's a huge workshop to walk across. So, suitable tapping stick, dead blow hammer, and we'll put one of the wheel nuts on, just to make sure the thread doesn't get any damage. It shouldn't do. We could always do it in the press, but I think it'll probably go quite easily. Let's see. There we go. It's on the move. So I'm just going to rest it down on the rubber of the tyre, so that we don't do any damage to anything. Put my hand underneath and hopefully catch everything that comes out. There we go. So somebody's definitely had this apart in the not too distant past, because that grease looks reasonably fresh. I would say that these bearings, being made in Japan, probably did not come out of the BSA factory, so yeah, someone has been in here. Why they put so much grease in there, I don't know, because they fitted sealed bearings. I mean, Had they put open bearings in, I could understand it, but yeah, there we go. We don't know, do we? We don't know why people do things, they just do. Yeah, definitely made in Japan. So it might be a Koyo. Let's have a look. Asahi. I thought they made beer. Anyway, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It feels like a good bearing. So, happy days. We probably won't have to replace it. And then we've just got the one more bearing to come out. On that side. And I think what I'll do is I'll clean up some of this grease before we go any further so that you can actually see what's going on, and we'll take it from there and get the other bearing out. Well, that was pretty disgusting actually. There was probably, I don't know, half a kilo of grease in there, maybe not quite as much as that, but certainly a lot of grease. The whole sort of tube of the hub was completely packed with grease, completely unnecessarily, and obviously that's why the brake drum is completely full of grease and the brake shoes are contaminated. So, excuse me knocking the table around a bit. What I'm going to do with this bearing to get it out, I managed to retrieve the thrust washer, which sits on the other side of the bearing, just keeps the axle from, well, gives the axle the correct amount of spacing. So I managed to retrieve that. I'm quite surprised it was there, but it was, so that's good news. We're going to warm up this housing now and see if this bearing will just fall out. It should just knock out. I don't want to go on the other side and start banging against it with anything because it doesn't feel like a bad bearing, so we'll probably be able to reuse it. So if we just warm up the housing with a heat gun, and excuse the noise. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll turn you off and I'll bring you back when it's warm. Well, you missed it, I'm afraid. It wasn't very dramatic at all, really. I warmed up the housing. It's still quite warm. And turned the wheel over, gave it a tap, and the bearing just fell out. So, happy days, no problems. I don't pound on bearings if I don't have to, particularly if I think that I'm going to reuse them again. And where's the camera? There it is. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's like brand new. So, yeah, the bearings will go back. No damage to the axle tube either. The threads all look good. There's no corrosion in there. Well, the amount of grease that was in there, there wasn't room for corrosion. But as I say, I think it's been apart fairly recently. Someone's been doing some work on it and just didn't get around to finishing it. So there you go. That's that bit. I think we'll take the brake back plate apart, and then once we've got that apart, we'll know what parts we need, and we can get on and order some bits and pieces. So let's do that. Get the wheel out of the way, take the brake shoes off. Right, got the back plate in the vise. Let's get these things off. My trusty big green screwdriver. I've had this thing since I was 16 years old. Bought it when I was an apprentice. Yep. That's them off then. Didn't quite mean to do that, but there we go. They're off. Okay. Just having a look at that back plate. Ah, that's there's no rivet missing after all. This here, sorry to get it into focus, this here where I thought there might be a rivet head missing is in fact the brake shoe post riveted through the back plate. So there we go. and that's nice and free. In fact, it's more than nice and free. It's rocking around like a good one, so we'll have a look at that as well. There's quite a lot of play in that. Anyway, I haven't got one to compare with, so whether they came out of the factory like that or not, I don't know, but we'll see, won't we? I'll just take the springs off the brake shoes and we'll have a look at them. And we've got genuine BSA part numbers on the, let me get into, where is it? There it is. 90-5714. So these are genuine BSA brake shoes that have been relined with bonded linings. So I'll probably keep these because I might actually get them redone. But yeah, maybe not. We'll see. Springs look okay, but I think you get new springs when you buy new brake shoes, but they're certainly not stretched or anything like that. But there we go, we'll keep them. Hold of those. Okay, so apart from cleanup, I think we're done with our rear wheel. We can move on to swinging arm. Okay, we're having a look at the swinging arm, and let me just turn off this heater which is right below the camera, because that's probably all you can hear. So I've decided that rather than mess around taking the mudguard off and doing what the manual says, the service sheet rather says, and wiring up the subframe, I'm just going to take the subframe off with the mudguard still attached, which I think will make life a bit easier. Now, I hope I haven't miscalculated here fitting the exhaust, because obviously this bracket which holds the exhaust, the footrest hanger bracket, is bolted to the frame here, but the swing arm pivot bolt goes through here. So I'm hoping that we can extract the pin for the swinging arm from the other side. I've made a start taking the footrest hanger off on the other side. I've disconnected the Girling units here, and as predicted, the bushes are a bit of a mess. The inner bush, the sleeve, has stayed on the swinging arm here, and there are sort of plier marks and potentially chisel marks where someone's been trying to get that off in the past. So I'm guessing that that's seized onto there. So we'll have to get that off and renew the bush. And on the other side, the bush is completely shot as well. It just fell off basically when I pulled the unit outboard slightly. It just fell off. So yeah, we've got a problem there. So I don't know what condition these units are in, but they certainly need new bushes. So I'm just going to continue to remove the swing arm pivot bolt on this side. It's a combined pivot bolt and grease fitting, and unlike the rear wheel, when I took the pivot bolt out the other side, there was hardly any grease there at all, and what was there looked incredibly old. So these screw into into the inside diameter of a pin, which runs in the phosphor bronze bushes in the swinging arm. So they retain the swinging arm in between the frame, excuse me, and they also serve to inject the grease for lubrication. And then there's a pin, steel pin, that runs through the bushes and through the centre lug of the frame, and that's what the swinging arm actually pivots on. It doesn't pivot on these. So to call them pivot bolts really is the wrong thing. They're just retaining bolts. But I don't know if you can see that very well. There is some grease in there, but it looks like it's been there forever and a day. So anyway, that's that removed. I'm going to go around the other side of the bike now, so I shall move you, and we'll we'll have a look at getting the subframe off, pulling that clear, and then have a go at extracting the swing arm pin. Well, I didn't remove the subframe all the way. I've just pivoted it up out of the way on the forward mounting, which is just behind the tank. So it's currently bungee strapped to the handlebars. It's almost vertical position. It looks rather strange, but it's doing the job. I can get to this pin here. You can see the central pin on the swinging arm. I can get to it from the other side without removing the exhaust just. So we should be able to drift it out. But it looks pretty crusty. It looks like it's been in there a while. The swinging arm is pivoting reasonably well. Oops, on it. Imagine if it had to travel that far. It'd be strange, wouldn't it? That would be some suspension travel. But anyway, yeah, it is pivoting quite well. But the pin looks pretty crusty. I don't just want to start smashing the granny out of it with a hammer and punch. So what I think I'll do is leave it for today. It's getting quite late actually. Leave it for today, give it a good soak with the penetrating oil, and come back to it tomorrow and see if it's more willing to budge. We could always apply a bit of heat as well, but yeah, I think leaving it overnight with a good soak of penetrating oil is the way forward. So that's what we'll do. Okie doke, it is now the next day, and it's had a good soak overnight with the penetrating oil, and I've been heating up the housings with my heat gun, which my heat gun's pretty good actually. You could solder with it. It's quite powerful, and I have a washer on the end of the pin so that we don't damage it, we don't burr it up with the punch. And things are starting to move, as you can see. I'm having to stop and reapply heat, but it is working. Just having to watch that we don't knock the bike off the stand, because that would be far from ideal. Okay, so as you can see, the pin is getting longer on your side. It's definitely coming out. I'm not going to subject you to me repeatedly banging away there. I'll take the pin out and then we'll come back and you can see the swinging arm when it comes off. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that coming out. You can see the discoloration. It's a bit manky. Doesn't take much corrosion to stop a pin from coming out, but those are the precautions that I'm taking to avoid damaging it, and I shall see you once I get this thing out. Okay, back over at the bench, and here we go. Swinging arm removed. Pin, as you can see, in a bit of a state. We'll have to have a look at that. It might need replacement. It might clean up. We'll see. I've done my best to keep it in good condition. As I mentioned, I used this washer. I just slipped this washer on the end of it, and that's what I was drifting against. So that took the brunt of all the percussion, if you will, and the threaded ends didn't really take any impact. The swinging arm itself, we'll have to measure up the bushes in there, give them a good clean out and measure them up. They are replaceable, so we can get those if need be, but we'll have a look. And it's making a noise when we do that, when we tip it up and down. Particles inside, which in my day job on a helicopter, that would be scrap. Any tubular component that makes a noise when you do that is scrap because of internal corrosion. So I don't think we're going to scrap a BSA swinging arm for that, but that's just a little bit of crossover into the day job, if you will. I mentioned before, one of the shock absorber bushes is stuck on the end here. We'll have to get that off. The threaded portions of the shock absorber mounts are fine. No damage to the threads, which is good. I will do a bit of an alignment check to make sure it isn't bent, just a rudimentary check. I think it's fine though. So that's our swinging arm and pin. We'll go over to the bike and have a look at the mounting on the frame. There's not an awful lot to see, but you might as well see it. So excuse while we go on a handheld adventure. Over we go. We've converted it into a Bantam stationary engine, but I'm pleased to say we've not disturbed our new exhaust setup, so that's good. So here we go. Don't know if you can see down there, it's a bit dark. I've got a hand light here, a little bit better. Just needs a good clean out, it's not terrible. So that's what we'll do. We'll give it a clean out. And let's just go back over to the bench and get you settled. And we'll recap what we need to do based on what we found during this video. So we started off with the rear wheel. We know that the bearings are alright, so we can reuse those. The brake lining is completely shot due to the grease, so we'll be replacing those. What else did we look at? The spindle, that was good. The brake back plate was good. The speedometer drive is good, it works. I don't know if I can demonstrate it. You probably won't be able to see if I... Will you see that? I don't know if I turn... Oh yeah, you can. If I turn the drive dog, you can probably just see that turning there. So we'll leave that well alone. We'll just clean it up. I've had these apart before, and I think if it's working, you're ill-advised to disturb it too much, because these turned ends, and this is like a Mazak cast end, are press fit into the, I'm presuming, Mazak high zinc aluminium body, and they're splined and pressed in, and once the splines have let go, there's no means of keeping them in there anymore. So to cut a long story short, we'll be just cleaning that up, re-greasing it and putting it back as it is. These are available actually. I think they're about £50 for a new one, so well worth saving your old one if you can, because that's another £50 out of the budget, isn't it? The brake drum, we will be giving that a good clean. It being cast iron and it having had a load of grease in there, I think we're going to have to sweat that a little bit with some heat and then just keep cleaning it. And we'll just keep sweating it and cleaning it until, you know, all traces of grease are gone. And the sprocket looked okay. I think the sprocket's fine to go back. And the tyre, obviously, completely shot. Sidewall cracks and the tread is worn out, so we'll be getting a new tyre. And then on the swinging arm, we'll measure up these bushes, give everything a good clean up the pin, have a look at that, decide what spares, if any, we need, get those ordered up, and get them here ready to refit. And that will be the next video, hopefully, seeing some of this stuff going back together. So it is the 30th of December 2022. I'd like to wish you all a very happy new year. Don't overdo it on the celebrations, and have a fantastic time. I hope wherever you are in the world, you have a wonderful time. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Thanks to all those new subscribers that have come along since Christmas. You're very welcome. I hope that you're enjoying what we're doing. And to my existing subscribers, as ever, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for all your support. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.